interesting article that I just got here. It says that Venom in Sony Spider-Man's universe is and isn't in the MCU. So is it or isn't?
Tell me his name again.
With Spider-Man being used in the MCU and the new Venom movie coming out, will Sony and Disney continue their little friendship that they have been going on for a couple of years? Because so far, what one of the news was that once after Spider-Man Homecoming 2 is over, Sony was going to take back Spider-Man and do whatever Sony was going to do. But Sony, and it is a very interesting article. It's a screen rant here. It says Sony's Venom movie in the Spider-Man universe currently is and isn't part of the MCU. Confused? Yes. As it currently stands, it looks like the Venom franchise is copying the approach taken by Marvel TV shows. In March 2016, Sony announced that they were launching a series of Spider-Man spin-offs. This will finally begin with the release of Venom in October, with a number of other films in the works, reportedly including Kraven the Hunter, Jetpack, Silk, and Nightwatch. The announcements have generally been received with a degree of skepticism, mostly because viewers aren't sure whether or not these films can work without Spider-Man. Sony may have the film rights of over 900 Marvel characters, but there are secondary heroes and villains who are best known for their interactions with the Wallcrawler. Ever Spider-Man villain spin-off? Let's see. As a result, debates have heavily focused on the question of whether or not Sony's movies are set in the MCU in some way, and if there could ever be a crossover. Unfortunately, there was no simple answer to that question. Instead, fans have been given a stream of contradictory statements and reports, and that may be the biggest clue of all. Let's see what they say here. I mean, you gotta think about it. Yes, Venom, they did it without Spider-Man. Sony right now, as everybody knows, has changed their name from Sony Marvel movies. They changed their name now to Sony Universe of Marvel Characters. Some C. Don't know why. SUMC. Sony Universe Marvel of Marvel Characters. How do I feel about that? They could have done something better. They could have just called it Marvel Sony or Sony Marvel, but they went into some crazy some C trying to, I don't know. But anyway, Sony cannot just go ahead and start building a Spider-Verse without seeing how Venom is going to do. That's just my personal opinion. Venom looks like, I'm hopeful, and I'm very hopeful that they do really good with Sony. With Venom, I'm sorry. With Venom. I love the character. I saw the trailer. I like what they did with the trailer. I like what they did with Venom. With the whole thing that they thinking about putting Venom as a PG-13 when it's a rated R character, because they're trying to keep it open for potential Spider-Man crossover in the future. Listen, you could still have your rated R Venom movie. It doesn't mean that in the future when you go ahead and put a Spider-Man movie, it has to be rated R just because you rate one character rated R. Yes, Spider-Man is a PG-13 character. It doesn't mean that Venom is going to be a PG-13 character. Kids, adults, all those read comics know that comics don't really come in a PG-13 or rated R version. Comics are what comics are. But if you want to keep it PG-13, all doubt to you. If you're going to want to open that door up for future Spider-Man crossovers, that would be awesome. There's a couple characters that I don't think they should have. Like Jackpot, nobody really don't know much about Jackpot. Don't know much about Silk. Kraven the Hunter. If you're gonna do a movie of Kraven the Hunter, you first have to establish Kraven the Hunter. Kraven the Hunter, he hunts for the pleasure. He hunts. He cannot just be like, oh, let's give him a big bear that he to hunt. What character are you gonna use him for hunt? You could go ahead and use Kraven to hunt Venom if you're gonna use them in the same universe, and that would be a good, hunting antagonist for Kraven the Hunter. But what other characters are you gonna use if you're gonna do a Kraven the Hunter movie? How are you gonna bring Kraven the Hunter into the big screen when you don't really have somebody that he's gonna hunt in particular? Maybe you could put him with Morbius. He's hunting Morbius. As Morbius wants to live and kill, Kraven wants to wants to hunt him because he's a vampire. And you could go from there, which way possibly you want to go to it. But let's back to Sidetrack. Let's get back to this. As early reports suggest that Venom and Spider-Man films wouldn't be part of the MCU at all. That was apparently confirmed in March last year when Spider-Man Homecoming director John Watts explicitly said that Venom was not connected to the Marvel world. Kevin Feige himself seemed to support this view of a few months later, but he added an important clarification. For now, there is no plan for Venom in the MCU. It's a Sony project. Attentive viewers noted Feige's curious phrasing with a sentence structure that emphasized in the term "for now." Big word, for now. Enter Amy Pascal, Sony producer of Spider-Man Homecoming and a key force in the Spider-Man villains universe. On Homecoming press tour, she suggested that Sony films were adjuncts to the MCU. So that would mean that the MCU is here and Sony Spider-Verse is here, and they kind of like, kind of touching. They're like right there with the MCU. That's what Amy Pascal is trying to say, strongly implying that they exist within the same shared universe. Pascal and Feige attempted to roll back on this over the following weeks, issuing a confusing stream of comments that did little than muddy the waters. The final word from Pascal, with Feige said, was the perfect answer. It says, first, there is Spider-Man happily in a place where he's supposed to be, which is in the Marvel Universe. I think everything comes from that. This is the signpost, the tentpole, and the signature, and the other movies that Sony is going to make in their relationship to this MCU. Spider-Man takes place in this world, although you're not going to see them in the Marvel Universe. It isn't the same reality. Let's see. The latest suggestion is that Sony and MCU could cross over. And let's see. The latest report on the entire Spider-Man universe from Variety once again raised the possibility that Venom could be part of the MCU. The Petri is full of new details containing two conspicuous statements that connect the two franchises. The first is suggesting that Sony is pushing to make Venom a PG-13 movie. Really? Not expecting for Venom? It's like Wolverine. Wolverine was a great character in the X-Men franchise. Wolverine is a great character in the Fox X-Men universe. But when they went ahead and put him in a rated R movie, Logan itself and the character Wolverine, everybody became ecstatic. They used him as Wolverine's supposed to be. Putting Venom in a state of rated R, of PG-13, is toning Venom down from what he's supposed to be. Not the ones expected rated R, to give greater leeway for future crossovers, potentially including the always family-friendly Spider-Man. The second in the converse suggestion that Sony hopes future movies could involve other members of the extended Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's important to note that this isn't the direct quote from Sony executive or source. It's more editorialization of Variety's insider posts. I mean, if Sony and Disney, well, if Sony is smart, would sit down with Kevin Feige, with all the executives, and say, hey, let's create an extended universe with the Sony characters. Let's not just, which characters would make sense for you guys to make movies with. We'll take suggestions. We'll put them in there. But let not yet do anything about it. Let's just have a conjunction. Let's work together and make a Marvel and some C work together in one parallel universe, but using the characters correctly as they're supposed to be used. Like I said, using Venom as a rated R PG-13 character from a rated R version that Venom is kind of like, you know what I mean? But let's see what's going to happen. I can't wait till October to see how Venom is actually going to be. And then you know, creating characters like Jackpot and Silk, characters that a lot of people don't know about. Sony's like just, it looks like Sony just digging names out of a box and say, hey, what movie are we gonna do next? Let's see. Let's do Jackpot. Who is Jackpot? Let's do Silk. Who is Silk? Let's do Kraven the Hunter. But let's make him hunt a unicorn. Like, you can't do that, guys. You have to create these characters like they're supposed to be. If you're gonna do a Spider-Man verse, I would suggest doing the Spider-Man. There's other Spider-Mans that you could use. You could bring a live-action Miles Morales. You could bring a Spider-Gwen. You could bring a Ben Reilly, Scarlet Spider. Actually, that would be awesome if you could bring the Scarlet Spider, the clone of Spider-Man, into the Sony. So then you have Spider-Man in the MCU, and you have Ben Reilly, the Scarlet Spider, in the Sony. That would make sense. If you use these two characters, that Ben Reilly is the clone of Peter Parker, and you the Scarlet Spider in the some C or whatever Sony universe of Marvel characters into the universe, then you have two Spider-Mans with Ben Reilly being in there. It kind of makes sense. You could actually do that. Let's see what Sony else is gonna bring. You know, having Morbius, Kraven the Hunter, Silk. Now from Black and Silver movie, now they're going for Silver Sable by the Alone movie, and Black Cat as a solo movie. So now you have Kraven, Morbius, Silk, Jackpot, Black Cat, Silver Sable. So you got 6 films that you're thinking about doing without Venom coming out. So you're already thinking ahead, and that's great. You're thinking ahead, that's great. But bring Miles Morales. I mean, you're already doing Miles Morales into. You're already establishing the Spider-Verse with Into the Spider-Verse animated movie coming out in December with Miles Morales. Wouldn't it be great to have Miles Morales in a real life, or like I said, the clone of Peter Parker, Ben Reilly, becomes Spider-Man in the MCU? So you don't have to use Peter Parker. You could leave him in the MCU and use Ben Reilly. That's just me. That's just me thinking. Let me know what you guys think about this whole Sony deal that is going on. Write down in the comments below. Let me know. This is the Comic Guy. Thank you for coming to my video, liking my video. Make sure to guys subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys later. Peace.